All right, February 28th, the last day of February.
Yep.
It's going out.
It is.
Yep. Hope y'all have had a great month, and hopefully it's warming up wherever you are.
Hopefully it's warming up here.
Yeah, I hope so.
Getting closer to spring every day.
Every single day. Just to recap a little bit, last episode was definitely a
one of the bigger trials we've gone through.
We'll leave that one at that.
Yep.
But go back and make sure that you've binge watch them all, whatever, get caught up to where we are at this point. This is a big part of what I, especially would always share as kind of my fishing testimony, kind of the way God had got me to where I am in my career. And this verse is one that I love, that I think fits it really well. And that's Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. And that hope and a future is way beyond this world. But definitely, even still during our time here on earth, he does want us to have a hope and a future in that time. So kind of starting off this one, it goes back a little bit to what, honestly, Jennie's mom had told us. We'd been living with her for a couple months after Jennie's dad had passed, and she told us, she's like, for you all to get back to normal, you got to go back home. You got to, go back to your home, go back to your life. Don't forget about me, but go back and do your thing as a couple. So that was kind of where we were there at the end of 2007, and going into 2008, we really were biting off fishing. We were biting off more than we had ever at this point. But we had always, or for several years, had fished Everstarts. Then in 2006, we added the FLW series. 2007, we didn't do the FLW series, but we added the FLW tour along with Everstarts. And so our plan in 2008 was like, we'll add stuff as we can.
Yeah, because I was going to travel full time, and so it was like we didn't have any reason to not be on the road for 7-8 weeks at a time. We had our camper, so we were good to go. And
I was still working at Wilson Trucking, and they were very flexible with me. It was great. When I'd come home, I'd work 40, 50 plus hours a week. And at that point, I was driving local delivery, working on the dock in the mornings, and then I would have a local route. So I had plenty of work and a very understanding and flexible boss that allowed me to do that. And when I mentioned to him, he's like, go for it.
We could just kind of hand him our schedule if this is when we'll be gone. And so, obviously when Ott was home, he scheduled those days to work and knew he wouldn't be there the weeks that we were gone.
It honestly, looking back at it now, and I can understand why it made some of the other guys who worked there, a little envious, because that, I had a lot of off time, but I wasn't considered full time.
No,
I was
you're a regular employee.
Irregular part time. So I did have benefits, and all this stuff will come into play here in a little bit more. So we decided to bite off a bigger chunk, keep doing a Division of Strand series, add the FLW series, and as well as the FLW tour. So that was going to be like 4 events in the Strands, 6 in the tour.
And 4, I think, in the series.
4 or more in the series.
And then championships.
Right. If you make the Forest Wood Cup and the Strand Championship. The FLW series, I think, made the Forest Wood Cup for the following year or something. So, so
a lot of tournaments.
14 plus championship, looking at maybe 16 tournaments or something. Still no sponsors, no income from fishing, really to speak of. Fishing paid for fishing. It was all based off of winnings, which entry fees were lower than stuff is now. Paybacks were at least as good as they are now. Fishing business ain't really necessarily changed a great lot as far as that's a total different topic for a different day. But so that's where we were, and started the year off. But since fishing was paying for fishing, you got to get some checks along the way. And what did we fish, like 3 tournaments, 3 or 4 without a check?
I think so.
And had never done that before.
No.
I mean,
it did not start out good.
It did not.
It was like 3 or 4 tournaments and just bad tournament after bad tournament. And I mean, and we lived, even though, like traveling with the camper and stuff, like we lived as cheaply as we could on the road. I mean, obviously we cooked in the camper every night. We didn't really eat out.
Yeah.
You know, we just tried to, you know, just live minimally.
Yeah.
So our expenses weren't so high because, I mean, even then, you know, filling a truck and boat every day is enough expense there. Like I said in the previous episode, is my personality is I kind of hold everything in until finally I break. And we've always...
Of course she breaks me.
Yeah.
She's only hit me 4 times.
4?
I don't know. Does it sound like a good number?
Sure. Is even like when we got married.
Did I distract you?
Yes, you did. I'm thinking about hitting you now. Really, Frederick? So I've always kept up with the finances, just to want to ensure our bills got paid.
And I've let her keep up with the finances. I've encouraged it because
he doesn't want to have to worry
our bills
about
get paid.
So I see that we are, you know, and one big thing we always have tried to do is if we put it on our credit card, it gets paid off. Yeah. Like there was 1 month, I think, that I can remember that we didn't have enough money to pay off the credit card. And I was like, we can't do that.
That's 1 month in our marriage.
Yeah.
Not in her in our marriage. And we made that vow to each other early on. I mean, before, I was fishing from start. But that was, there was always the horror stories of guys that we know that was like, fishing on credit cards, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, they would rack their credit cards up so much, and then by the time you know, if you don't have the money to pay for it, then you're getting all of that interest as well, and it just tailspins, and it's easy to do. And so,
but that was a vow we made to each other and to God that we
weren't going to do it if we put it on our credit card, it was going to get paid.
Yep.
Like that just was how we were going to do it. So. Here, you know, so obviously, and you know, in traveling, you know, it would be easy just to use your debit card and you know what's coming in and out. But as much as we travel and with, you know, like the readers, people steal your numbers and everything, we have to have credit cards because that way if they get our card number, whatever, I can call and be like, that charge wasn't us. But if they get your actual bank stuff, that's a lot harder to deal with.
And I mean, we're still pretty young married at this point in time, and we didn't have a mortgage. We had rented, or now we're paying a loan to Dad on land. So we'd had some car loans, but building our credit, honestly, was in that goal too of having credit cards and using credit card. I mean, having good credit is a good thing, but and having credit cards is a way to help with that.
It's a way to get your credit built. So so we're going to these tournaments, putting everything on credit cards, obviously, plus paying entry fees, and we've not gotten a check back yet. And so, it's kind of pretty easy, like, of knowing in fishing world is a lot of times you pay deposits 6, sometimes 8 weeks before your first tournament, and then they just kind of keep going. But there's usually somewhere in there where you have a whole lot of money out and you haven't fished a tournament yet.
FLW, I'll say, was definitely the best at that. You put
it was very close.
You put a minimal amount of money out. Like when we started with the Elite Series, the first year it was like $24,000 before we ever fished a tournament or something.
We had to pay in $24,000 before we ever fished a tournament.
Where with FLW, I want to say it was under 10.
Yeah, and it may have been less than that. But so we have all this money out, and then we're not getting checks. And of course, we've got Abby, and just having an infant is of its own, but like Ott said, he still has his regular job. So like as far as our household bills, all of that is still good. But fishing was supposed to pay for fishing. Yeah. And so we weren't getting checks in fishing. Yeah. And then we come to April, and we have 3 big tournaments that month. And I guess we were at Lewis Smith.
Lewis Smith was the make or break one, kind of.
Yeah, we kind of are getting to the point to where it's just like, okay, like with what we have in our account and what's on our credit card bills, like I can pay this month, like I can pay the entry fee, everything that we've got, and of course, like, and I'm stressed, but I'm trying to not like say anything because I don't want him to worry about it. Like I don't want him to be on the water and be worrying about, well, if I don't get a check here, my career's pretty much down the drain. Like, I didn't want that stress on him. Yeah. So here I am.
Bottling it all up.
Twitching my eyes and praying every second that he catches fish. and we go to Lewis Smith, and the first day, did you see her that day?
No, I caught 2. But now I will say it was a really tough tournament.
Yes, it was.
It was a really tough tournament. The two fish, those 200 guys as the FLW tour. If I remember right, I was in 80 to 100. Yeah, out of 200 with two fish that weighed 4 pounds. It was a very tough bite. Like 13 pounds is leading. I mean, it was not good fishing.
No, it wasn't good fishing.
But it was. So I mean, I caught something, but I'm not. I ain't in a good place.
No.
I have no idea what the top 50 cut would have been at that time, but I'm going to guess 7 or 8 pounds is about what it would have been. If 13 was leading, that's probably what 50th was, and would have been in check range. So, but a very tough tournament, very tough first day. Come in with 2. I mean, I know it ain't good, and I know our status right now ain't good, but I didn't really know just the details of it. I just overall view. I've fished 4 tournaments or something.
Yeah. That
have cost to $1,500 to $3,000 whatever dollars a piece to go fish, and I ain't cashed a check yet. I know it ain't great, and so this is kind of, to me, this is because I've shared this a lot. This is and I'm always one who has to share it, so I'm going to make Jennie do it because
I'll mess it up.
No, you'll be fine.
Okay.
But it's a conversation that I've replayed a lot. I'll just say that.
Well, I mean, obviously he can tell that. I mean, I'm not just down. I'm like, I don't know how we're going to do it. Like, we do not have enough money to go to the next tournament. If we don't get a check here, like, or we're going to have to we're going to have to put it on credit. We were probably that desperate at the time. We probably would have put it on credit cards and just rolled with it and prayed for the best. But he could really tell that something's off with me. And so he's finally brave enough to, because that's the thing, like, if you ask me, I'll tell, but I'm not just gonna
throw it out there.
I'm not just gonna lay it out there. And I kind of come clean. I'm like, I don't know how we're gonna get to the next tournament. Like, I can pay what is on our credit card right now, we're good, but I don't know what we're gonna do next month.
She's like, what we've got versus what the bill is, we'll be at 0.
Yes, we're done.
We'll be at even. There'll be nothing left.
And I mean, I know what I said, but I can't remember like what you said for me to. Because you were down, obviously, after I got back to you.
I was a little sad.
And I know I asked him, I'm like, is this what you... I think maybe that's just what it was, is we just didn't know what we were going to do, how we were going to do this. And I was like, is this, like, do you fully believe, like, this is where God wants you? Like, he wants you to be a professional angler. Like, are you where you are supposed to be? Like, is this where we're supposed to be? Is this what you truly believe? And, obviously...
I said, yeah. I said, I do. I said, I don't know why, but I do think this is what I'm supposed to do and where I'm supposed to be.
I said, well, then you better get your butt out there and catch some fish tomorrow. Like, I mean, I don't know what else to tell you at this point. Like, that's on you.
Yeah. So up in the day, I've caught 2 fish, and a lot of fish were spawning in that tournament. And I'm up in the area. It's not too far actually from the campground where we were staying at. And I remember looking at a map, and I'm like, because what fish were on the bed, everybody had already picked off. I couldn't figure any other way to get a bite. And I'm like, man, where's a pocket up here? Every pocket everybody had been in 10 times. I'm like, where's a pocket up here that people wouldn't have went in? And I remember looking at a map, and one of them something just drew me to this particular cove. And I go into this cove, and I remember throwing up, I want to say with a wacky worm up by a tree, and maybe I see one, I catch a keeper. I'm like, okay, so now I got 3. And I've got, like, I'm going to say 30 minutes to fish. And I've got to run back through this thing. I go a little bit further, and I catch like a nice one, maybe a 3-pounder or something. And I've got 5 or 10 minutes left to fish, and I go a little bit further, and I catch my 5th one. And I had a decent limit. I want to say it was like 13 pounds. It might have been the biggest bag of the day on that second day.
It may have been.
So, a good catch. And when I caught that 5th one, whatever the weights were with the 2 fish I had the day before for 4 or 5 pounds, I was pretty certain I was going to get a check. And that was, I mean, it was almost like having won the tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, it really was at that point. I was like, man, I've just got to get in at this point. And, and there was one idle zone through there, and I may have pushed it just coming all clean at this point. I may have pushed that no weight zone a little bit hard just to make sure that I got in, because I I mean, I remember catching that last one. I caught it and I left. I didn't make another cast. I mean, that was how close it was, how close I was cutting it on time.
And you're always cutting it on time, no matter what.
But I was like 25 minutes away cutting it close on time. And yeah, so I'm, I may have pushed it just a little bit hard in that no wake zone. But I finished 40th or something
like that.
Got a check, got a $10,000 check in that tournament. And I was, of course, no kind of way for Jennie to know until she's there at the ramp. I'm like, I got a limit, a chance to get. I mean, so as down as what we were that day before, and the conversation we'd had, and then for God showing up the way that He did, not early in the day, but that 2:00, 2:30, whatever time it was, of looking at the map. And why don't you go try this pocket here, and putting the 3 fish on my line that in some ways saved our career.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely look at it that way. And I think those next 2 tournaments, were they back to back? So that was the FLW Tour, Smith Lake, 2008, 40th place finish, baby.
Okay. We can go to the next tournament now.
Let's go.
We're good.
So the very next event is we had to come home because I switched boats.
Okay, maybe we did.
So
I came home, then went. I know these 2 were back to back.
Those 2 were definitely back to back. So but it was a minimum amount. It might have been a couple days, whatever, 3 or 4 days home. Took Bud Strader his boat back. Borrowed Jason Nichols' boat. He had a Stratus at the time, and I had a boat on order.
It just didn't come in on time.
Yeah,
it was supposed to be there like the end of March, and it didn't come till like May something.
Yeah, it was about early May. So that whole year I had been fishing out of borrowed boats. I'd borrowed Jason some
because we foolishly sold our old boat.
Yeah.
Rule number 1 in tournament bass fishing: you don't ever sell your old boat until your new boat is nearly like parked in your garage.
Yeah,
like
till it's in the garage.
Swap them like that.
Yeah, yeah. If you're serious about it, you gotta always have a ride.
Always have a boat.
Yeah, but so I had buddies I borrowed boats from to get through, and come home. I remember swapping out stuff, but go to Santee Cooper, and I had fished there. I'd fished there once or twice before. At that point, a couple times. Had decent finishes there. Cool lake. Really big lake. Of course, anybody that's ever been to Santee down in South Carolina. And the thing I remember a lot about that tournament, I had a co-angler practicing with me, but I was sick as a dog. I mean, springtime allergies.
Yeah, allergies.
Maybe I had corona back then. Who knows? I doubt it. But it was springtime allergies wear me out. And that part of the world, those cypress trees were blooming. I mean, pollen on the water. It was just, And I practiced like a day and a half.
Yeah, wasn't that much.
Wasn't much at all. But everywhere I went, I caught big ones. I mean, it was like in practice, I'd say, well, let's go over here to Utah, and I'd catch big ones. And then I'd go to down in the canal, and I'd catch big ones. I'd go in the lower lake, and I'd catch big ones. It's like, well, I think I can fish wherever I want to fish. I'm going to catch big ones. The fish were just really biting. I mean, we hit it at a really good time. Yeah. But Santee, that ended up being an amazing week. I had led start to finish, won the tournament, 94 pounds something for 4 days.
If we're throwing out all honesty here.
Yep, just put it on out there.
So back then, obviously, they can't use phones and stuff during the day unless it's an emergency. Well, like I get a text, or did you call? You may have called. And so he called and was just like, bring your camera and weigh in, So I bring my camera to weigh in.
By far the biggest stringer I'd ever caught.
Yes. So obviously exciting, and end up winning that event. That was really our first
first big win for sure.
Yeah. So that was, really awesome. We are pumped up. Like we just went from being dead broke to not knowing how we were going to come to the next tournament, to getting a check, to winning a tournament. And so even though it was like a smaller tournament, still to us it was
25,000. I mean that was 10,000 the week before, 25,000 in this one. Didn't get the bonus boat. I thought that's what you were actually going to mention. But,
no, I'm not going to talk about that here.
Okay. But yeah, so now we're at 35,000 in a couple weeks time.
Yeah. Go
to very next tournaments, an FLW. They call them opens then. It was part of the tour. There was like 3. That was the National Guard Open that they always had on Lake Norman. So the entry fee was just a little bit more, but the payout was considerably bigger. and I finished like 16th there and won 12.5 or something. So went, in a month's time, won 40 almost $50,000.
Like we went from nothing to almost having $50,000 in a month.
Yeah, in a month. So that was a huge turnaround, and that was just kind of a little side note here. Through all of that, I felt like we were always faithful in tithing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean we were, like, from our tournament winnings, and this isn't any glorification to us. This is just what God has done in our life. We were always faithful in that, and whatever our tournament winnings were, 10% we would give back. And I can remember that month there, it was like, this is going to be like $5,000 we give back, and that being kind of difficult, but we didn't hesitate.
No, and we would always find, because sometimes we don't always do it straight to church. We find different outlets as well, or if there's a need somewhere, but it was always, we're going to do this, and it was, I think that had at that time had to been like the biggest that we'd ever had to set aside, to
for sure, and that and I don't remember who I heard it from, whoever the quote is. If y'all know, commented on here, but somebody that had said that you can't outgive God, and that I mean that is so true. I mean it be faithful in that, in your tithing and stuff, and you'll see the blessings in that just come completely full circle. So that was something that, just a side note there, that I'd thought of. But the rest of, 2008, that was for sure the highlight of the year, was that month. The rest of the year was good. Made the Forest Wood Cup. Good tournaments, but nothing outstanding. Just kind of rocked along at that point. Made the String Championship again, and that was out in Missouri on Table Rock Lake. And I think that was the first time I had ever fished Table Rock. Finished like 5th place there, won $20,000 at the end of the year. Yeah. So that, far and away, 2008 started off as a very rough year, but ended up very well. It ended up really, really great. So had a big year there, and got home from that tournament November 2008. Drove home from Missouri. I'd always call my boss a lot of times when I was driving home, say, hey, what time I need to be, or sometimes I'd ask for Monday off so that way I could get home and recoup, especially like this. I'd had a good weekend, fished, on Sunday, and but I call him and say, hey, what time do I need to come in tomorrow or whatever, just get my schedule for the week. He's like, well, just come in whenever you want to, but you're just cleaning out your locker and stuff. I'm like, what do you mean? He said, we'll discuss it fully when you come in, but you won't be working here anymore. So, and that was, I got laid off. Yeah,
that was company wide. That was kind of, in the economy was going south. And so, anybody that was considered an irregular employee at the time,
anything short of full time, was
laid off. And so, not only was he laid off, we lost our health insurance. It was like, that was our comfort. That was
that was our safety net.
Yeah, we didn't have to worry if this all, doesn't come about, then we've still got a good job to fall back on. And now we don't have a job and
still
insurance.
No
and still no sponsors.
Still no sponsors. Fishing, that was by far the best year, but fishing still really kind of paid for fishing. It was scary. I'd only had a couple jobs in my life. I certainly had never been laid off before. Yeah. And who's going to hire a guy who's going to say, oh yeah, by the way, I need like 12 weeks off next year. You good with that? And on these days, you can't pick them. I got to pick them.
Yeah, it's got to be these weeks.
So it's not like I was the best employee in the book, looking for a job at a time when there wasn't many jobs.
No.
So that was. And that's funny to think, because really since that, thankfully our country's been in a pretty good place, but it's like you can't find people to work.
Yeah,
it's been that way since 2012 nearly, that you can't find people to work. It's funny to think about that, but either way. It was definitely a
so we're off season,
weird time.
Laid off, no health insurance, and obviously still have a baby, or she's kind of a toddler at this point, but and left with the decision, where do we go from here?
Yeah.
So I think that's where we should end it.
Yeah, I'm absolutely, definitely good with that. So we'll share that verse again. Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. And that was definitely, we were curious of what that future was going to look like at that point. Thanks for watching again, and come back next week.
Well, next Sunday we'll be live.
We'll be live next Sunday. Yep, so we'll be live next Sunday. Get us some questions in, anything you want us to cover.
Yep, and also I think next Sunday we're going to give away 6 devotionals.
Yep.
3 women's and 3 men's that we've kind of been behind on giving away. But just the devotional that we each use. Mm-hmm. So just make sure to tune in next week.
Yep.
And we appreciate y'all. Leave us comments of questions or suggestions or anything, and we're not going to change clothes, just so you know that we didn't film this all in one day.
We might wear the same ones next month.
No, it won't be Valentine's Day anymore.
Oh, yeah. You'll have to wear something for your birthday. It's next month.
It's birthday month.
Birthday month. Thanks for watching.